Welcome back to the CannaTech podcast. A real treat today. We're back with Steve Gutterman, the CEO of Falcon Brands. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back.
All right. Well, you were just saying off camera, you've got the life everybody wants. You a little bit of Southern Cal, a little bit of Denver, Colorado, the Rocky Mountains. Nice life.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's also good to be in two mature but different cannabis markets. It gives a nice perspective as to what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, one of my favorite sites that I track, and folks, if you've tracked my work, I publish once a year a piece on where to find the super influencers in our industry. And one of those sites, I like to find out, what conferences you're going to, podcast, what are you reading? One that I bookmarked is New Cannabis Ventures. Amazing reporting. And they, a few months ago, came and did a piece on you. Trulieve has a stake in this profitable California cannabis company generating $100 million in revenue. What's the story? What's the front story? What's the backstory?
Well, I think there's a couple of pieces of that. The first is that there was a really and there's lots of press around this, but we tried for a long time to do a combination with Harvest, and as a matter of fact, I was at Harvest when that happened, and we at Harvest tried to acquire Falcon. It took a really long time because we had to go through a Hart-Scott-Rodino review, which, if you remember, in 2018 and 2019, all the big mergers were having to go through that. Ultimately, it took about a year to do that to try to do the transaction, and then about a year to unwind it. But it was finally, very amicably unwound, and now Harvest, and so now Trulieve is a 9% shareholder in the company, and we're very glad and grateful to have them as an investor and as a shareholder. And so then I think the other part of that story, which is probably equally, if not more interesting, is the idea that we've been doing, and I think we talked about this a little last time, we've been doing over 100 million in revenue per year for the last several years. We have become a profitable company on that same revenue, and we've done that by really honing in on our operations and investing in technology, which, if you remember, that's kind of what we talked about at some length last time.
It was
because we're not the typical cannabis company. If you came to visit us, which, by the way, you got, as you know, a standing invitation to come visit our facilities. If you saw them, you would say, wow, this feels a little bit like the factory of Coke or Pepsi or a CPG company, in the way that we produce, manufacture, distribute, measure, track, and so all of our work and our operations are led by one of the founders, Edlin Kim, and all the work that he and the team have done over the years have paid off. And so we've been able to develop these brands that people love and generate $100 million a year in revenue every year. And we've been able to along the way become profitable in doing that.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something again. As I bookmark New Cannabis Ventures, there's about 10 sites I peek at every morning over coffee. You know what I mean? Warren Buffett can't be wrong. I heard that dude reads for like 3 or 4 hours in the morning, so I follow his lead. But that's really interesting about operations, because what you're definitely seeing, and this isn't news to you, but maybe some of the listeners, is the flight to profitability is really we're talking layoffs, we're talking cost cutting, we're talking this. It's the typical Gartner hype curve, right? A couple of years ago, we're all frothy, and now, we're in the trough to come out long term and hockey stick to the right again. But that's interesting you said that, because I'm seeing that a lot. Does that make sense? That we're really sharpening the pencil, man.
Oh, for sure. And I think I have a couple thoughts on that. The first is that cannabis is a somewhat, but not entirely, recession and inflation proof commodity.
Yeah.
Meaning, of course, we are still going to see sales, but basket sizes in California and across the country have declined a little bit as inflation has gone up. And it makes sense, right? If you're paying more for gas and rent and power, then you may either look for cheaper weed or you may get one or two less products, right? So I think that's real, and that has forced cannabis companies to become particularly attentive to and attuned to profitability, something that was happening anyway, but it's really accelerated that focus. Having said that, and I think this is the second and more important point, let's step back for a second. Cannabis has gone from $0 to $50 billion in revenue over just a handful a year. And so, to paraphrase Mark Twain, the death or the troubles of the cannabis industry are somewhat exaggerated, right? I mean, like, this is an industry, and if you're looking at the prints right now of the large public MSOs, everybody's generating way more revenue than they did last year, and everybody's generating EBITDA and really good margins. And like we just talked about a second ago, we're profitable, and we're profitable in what is generally considered the most competitive state in the country. So yeah, I think the hand-wringing about stocks and capital markets and the industry in general is overblown.
Yeah. It's, markets inefficient, which again can be good. You can arbitrage inefficiency, right? That creates the exact arbitrage opportunity. So I'm cool with up and down. What was it? A friend of mine, bulls make money, bears make money, but pigs get fat. So, you just, it's okay, guys. It's okay that we're going to have natural market corrections. One thought I had while you were talking was, this probably is my fourth or fifth economic recession rodeo, if I were to count it up. And what I saw as a child in the Alaska oil industry in the mid 80s, and they finished the pipeline, right? And so it's a natural resource economy. So they didn't need 50,000 workers anymore, right? And so there was a post-construction letdown in the economy. Here's what I found is that the sin taxes were almost like consumer staples. They basically they did pretty well. So we're talking liquor, we're talking pawn stores. Those were, they were thriving. People are trying to sell stuff, man, to buy food or whatever. Adult entertainment, and you get the point. And I think cannabis falls to some extent into that sin tax area. Now, you're right. It's not 100% bulletproof, but it is something that people will like. The other thing, I just had this conversation yesterday, was you may see a little bit of the economic concept of substitution that literally had this conversation that people are like, well, a $20 bag of edible peanut butter cups will carry me, at $20 up in Seattle, 24, I think. Well, that's going to carry me a week and 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, versus you can't even do the same with vodka, right? Alcohol can be far more expensive than weed, and it comes down to the substitution effect, depending on your relationship with alcohol and weed. If it's to relax at night, this individual was sharing that they're substituting. Have you ever had that conversation about weed versus alcohol?
Yeah, sure. And I generally agree with everything that you just said, except I'll quibble with one piece, right? Which is, and this is a frustration I think everybody in the cannabis industry shares. There are many people that use cannabis because it has a materially positive impact on their lives, right? They smoke because they are they're trying to relieve anxiety, or they have seizures, or you name it. And so I think that the notion that, and maybe my My beef isn't with you, it's with regulators and tax administrators. The notion that we as an industry and consumers should pay a sin tax on products that are really essential for health. Really, I would say it's more of a wellness tax, and it's kind of bogus, right? And so, for example, I was gratified when recently California reduced some of the cultivation taxes, eliminated them for cultivators. And I think that was a really good step. Now, on the other hand, you have LA considering additional taxes on unincorporated counties for facilities in unincorporated counties. And so that's a step back, right? And so I think that what the education that needs to continue to happen is that cannabis and alcohol and cannabis and adult entertainment and cannabis and some of the other things that you talked about there are similarities, but they're not equal, right? Cannabis is a substance that makes people's lives better and should be taxed and regulated accordingly.
Well, and I'm getting to know you better, and unfortunately, what you're going to discover is I am a little chippy, so
yeah.
Try to have I have a fake Texas accent, so I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun. But hey, in any event, where could people possibly see you as we head into the show season? MJ BizCon, anything else stand out in mind where people might be able to see you live?
Yeah, we're being a little bit judicious in the things that we're appearing in, and just because I think that's good practice. And also we're working on a bunch of big stuff, and when that happens, we may be a little more we may start pounding the pavement a little bit more. Right now, we're definitely going to be at MJ BizCon in Vegas in the fall, and then we should be back at Benzinga in April, and then we'll see about additional appearances.
Yeah, I love Benzinga. Unfortunately, I have a collision. Apparently, they have one in September in Chicago.
Yeah.
Not going to happen, but I sure like that spring one down in Miami. Now that one I'll always.
Yeah, and I will tell you that we just made the decision to not do a speaking engagement at that one. But having said that, I think Elliot and Patrick Lane do a great job, and the whole Benzinga team does a great job. But we're definitely planning on being back in April, and so it's just a matter of picking our spots a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, we're going to get you back next quarter if you don't mind. It's hopefully good for you. It's certainly good for us. Continued success, and I'm going to keep an eye on you.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to talking again.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.